old people used to always say death comes in threes, so I guess I'm waiting for the third one. I only know two of this week. The young brother in D.C., they didn't shoot him. They killed him. They knocked him off his moped and knocked him into traffic or something, and he got hit by another car. Similar to the situation that happened in Detroit with the brother on the four-wheeler. You know, they didn't shoot him. They just figured out another way to lynch him. And then we all know about the brother in Philadelphia who they gunned down. They said each police officer shot at least 7 shots. So 14 bullets for a man with a knife who was about 15 to 20 feet away from the police officers. I know he had a knife. I know he was armed. But the chances of him being some type of marksman with a blade were probably pretty slim. Seeing that they've had encounters with the young man before, and they were supposed to be backup. See, an ambulance was called, but the police showed up and he died. So I guess both situations were taken care of because he left in an ambulance, but he was dead. See, when they wanted him to leave in an ambulance, it was because of his mental health issues, which everybody knew he had. But the police showed up and they just took care of the situation altogether. No ambulance needed to take him to the mental hospital or take him to a hospital to maybe go to the mental hospital. We'll just shoot you dead because you got a knife in your hand. And I know we feared for our lives. Several police officers, at least 2 that I could see in the screen, we know that there was more, shot at least 7 shots apiece out of their guns to a man who was 20 feet away from them with a knife. You can say or do what you want to say and do if you law enforcement, but there ain't no way this is justified. You can't justify killing somebody unless you are in imminent danger. And what type of imminent danger are you in with someone with the life? And I know all about the lunging and how long it takes to do that. I know all that shit. I done talked to professionals about that shit. Now, crazy thing is, they had guns, but they didn't have tasers. They had body cams, but they didn't have tasers. So their only use or only access to force was a bullet. They didn't have anything to disable him. They didn't take any type of tactics to disarm him. And we've seen countless white people on camera with knives where they have de-escalated the situation and taken that person into custody. And he lived. But it's something about a black individual with a knife where the police officers are in no imminent danger because he's got to be close enough to you to cut you. Unless you're anticipating him being a marksman where he can throw the motherfucking knife. But if that's the case, you being out there on the front lines, do you call his bluff? Do you make him try to throw that knife? Because once he throws that knife, what's he going to do? Pull another knife out? Probably not. But they killed the man when they weren't even supposed to be there. They weren't even supposed to be the first responders. An ambulance was called, but the police showed up. You see what happens when you put people who are not qualified to de-escalate a mental health situation? Why am I talking about this? I just watched it last night. There's another black man killed. It's the BlackWatch. See, I ain't always got to talk about politics. I ain't always got to talk about these stupid ass celebrities doing stupid shit. Sometimes I just talk about black shit. This is black shit right here. Because white people don't get killed like this. Nobody gets killed like this. I mean, that young man that was riding his moped, they were in pursuit of him, and I guess he had several run-ins with that particular officer who hit him and knocked him off his moped into traffic and got him hit by the other car. So there was a hate-hate relationship there, already built up. And when you got that, and you got that venom in your heart, you're going to do what you need to do. Because he's not going to one-up you. He's obviously either wanted to put him away or he's put him away. But he was back on the street. He was riding his moped. And that officer wanted him off that moped. Now, instead of him, I mean, I'm sure if you're in hot pursuit of a moped, you're doing all of 35 miles an hour. To even cause a chase, to even make that a situation, a dangerous situation, is ludicrous. I mean, unless you know he's bodied somebody, he's sexually assaulted somebody, he's put somebody in some type of harm's way, why are you in hot pursuit of a fucking moped? It's 2020. It's a pandemic. We're wearing masks in this bitch. But you're in hot pursuit of a man on a moped? Don't know his age. I'm going to find that out. But the other brother that they shot in front of his house, in front of his home, gunned him down. See, there's no difference in you gunning that man down in front of his home than Medgar Evers getting gunned down in front of his home. Now, Medgar was unarmed. He probably had a briefcase in his hand. Maybe he had his jacket thrown over his arm. He was at home, but he did not have a weapon in his hand. Or maybe he did. See, that briefcase is a weapon. If you're a black man and you carrying a briefcase, chances are you got some business. That's a weapon within itself to a white racist man. But let's stay on course with it. He had a knife. The ambulance was called to the scene and the police show up. Why didn't the police wait for the ambulance to get there and let them deal with the situation? And if de-escalation was needed, then they would step in with the proper protocol. Not 14 bullets, but just something that it might be able to get that young man some help. Get him to the right place, because he wasn't able to be controlled by his family. And maybe he was off his meds or whatever. I'm not sure exactly what the situation is. I'm not making any excuses other than the fact that I don't believe he needs to be dead today. And he's dead today. I just don't believe he should be dead today. But the fact that he is dead today, that's a problem. So what we're going to do is we got to figure out who the next one's going to be. We don't want it to be, but we know black people always know this. Death comes in threes. I was taught that by old people back in the day. Death comes in threes. And we know it's not going to stop at 3, but this was 2 quick ones right in a row. And then we got somebody else coming. We just don't know who it is. We know they're going to be black. We know chances are they'll be unarmed, unprovoked. And it'll come at the hands of somebody who should have never walked out of a police academy. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Who was that quote made by? And I don't think that young brother Wallace thought he was going to a gunfight. I think he was out of sorts. I think he was in a position he didn't really know who he was, where he was, what he was doing. And then all of a sudden, he turns up dead. 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 I just don't know how that happens. I don't. But it happens to us and never happens to anybody else. And I know speckled here and there are other people that are killed by police, but there's absolutely no way anybody statistically could tell me that anybody gets killed by police more than black people. So if you're not high in the equation, you're not in the equation. I don't want to hear about percentages, because what is it, 90 to 10? And the 10 being everybody else. People, white people get killed by police too. Latinos get killed by police too. Asians get killed. Okay. We just had 2 black men killed by police in 3 days. How many white people do you know been killed by police in the last 3 days? How many Asians do you know been killed by police in the last 3 days? How many Latinos do you know been killed by police in the last 3 days? How many Middle Eastern people do you know been killed by police in the last 3 days? When y'all want to talk that shit, I'll talk that shit with you. But real talk, we done talking that shit. Now they want to stop the civil unrest. They want to stop the civil unrest. It ain't civil unrest when you ain't killing us. Where all them riots and protests at? When y'all ain't killing, when y'all leaving us the fuck alone. There ain't none of that. Black folks trying to get by. Black folks trying to get through it. But when you kill us, it makes a tad bit difficult to get through it, to get by. And then you want to call it a civil unrest. No, it's called response. It's the BlackWatch. Much love and respect to them families that are affected by death at the hands of law enforcement. It's not y'all. It's not y'all. It's them. That's why I'm saying that there's no defunding the police. We don't need them to have less resources. Obviously, that police department had less resources because they didn't have tasers. They only had bullets. Tasers cost more than bullets. See, if they had tased him, he'd probably still be living. But they didn't have tasers at their disposal. They only had bullets. And only having bullets. But what about the brother in Washington, D.C.? They didn't shoot him. He used his car. He used a 4,000-pound lynching mechanism to run into somebody on a moped. 4,000 pounds versus about 200 pounds. A moped about 200 pounds? 4,000. Who was going to win that fight no matter what? He couldn't beat you unless he threw his moped and it went through your windshield and you were sitting in the front seat. It's the only way he's going to defeat you. It don't make no sense. They done figured out strategic ways to kill us, to lynch us. Hopefully you subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate you one way or the other. We appreciate you more when you do that. One love.